Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is John Rietveldt, the CEO with I4F. John, how you doing?
I'm very well, Kemp. And how are you doing?
I'm well. I wanted to talk to you about last week. I know you were in Shanghai at the Domotex Asia China Floor Show. We'll get to that in just a minute. Most people know I4F, one of the three intellectual property companies that have a global footprint. While you're one of the newer ones, your business has done real well. How is business right now?
Yeah, I would say overall it is satisfying. I think there is no so-called tailwind. The market remains to be quite challenging for various reasons. But as you know, macroeconomical, there are some challenges, and geopolitical, there are some challenges. But we always have looked to where we see the opportunities. We have a lot of different technologies. Of course, locking is our core, but we also brought several new technologies to the market the last years, and that starts to get traction. So I would say satisfying, but of course, as you know, we're always happy, but never satisfied completely. So we keep looking at more business.
I think most people know that this economic doldrum that we're in right now is a global phenomenon, and it's happening everywhere. Let's move to the show. This show is often one of the most largely attended flooring shows in the world because of the magnitude of manufacturing in the Asia Pacific area related to floor covering. This is considered a regional show. It takes place in Shanghai. It was Tuesday and Wednesday of last week. Tell us a little bit about the show.
Yeah, actually it was Tuesday, Wednesday, and most of Thursday. Yeah, with all the changes over the last couple of years, you have certain expectations. I must say, from a personal standpoint, it has exceeded those expectations in terms of visitors and amount of people. Of course, you see some trends. Say rightly, it is for the Asian region. So we saw actually quite a lot of Asian manufacturers and also distributors or even retailers. So there were many people of the local market, which is, of course, also developing. We saw quite a lot of international people, I would say, from everywhere with the exception of the U.S. There were people from the U.S., but not as many as in the past. But we saw other regions. We saw several from Europe, but from Argentina, from Middle East. They came from everywhere. And if I really look to the visitors we had on the booth and the amount of people I saw, and this is always what you would like to see, in the corridors, there were quite a lot of people, which really exceeded our expectation.
Let me ask you, were people in your booth to do business with you or to copy your intellectual properties?
You want the real answer? I don't know. People maybe get some good ideas and they start to get work. But in general, that is always, I'm always a little bit biased being at those shows because everybody who is at that show are potentially our customers. So we're a little different animal in the overall setup. Normally, you're a manufacturer and you look, of course, for distributors and retailers. We also talk with them, to make sure that they know the technologies and we create demand. But predominantly, we look, of course, at manufacturers. And they were there, and we could have the opportunity to show what we had new. And we had, again, some very exciting new technologies. So from that aspect, yeah, it was very positive. But again, we should take into account we're a little bit different animal in the overall show as a kind of a normal manufacturer.
Let's run through a few things. According to their website, they were expecting 1,600 exhibitors and 85,000 attendees. The show is owned by Deutsche Messe, which is the Domotex brand, and Globus Events. And I think that Thomas Bard also has some interest in the show. Just real quick on their website, if you want to run through the brands that I recognize that were there, obviously I4F, Unilin, Vilinge, CFL was celebrating their 20th anniversary, Knox, Novalis, Bauwerk Bowen, HMTX, Armstrong Flooring, LX Housey, Shaw Contract, Jurfloor, Wally Floor, and Universal Fibers. Those are the brands I recognize. Like you said, there weren't too many Americans there. Question about that, do you think it's the geopolitical atmosphere? Because I know there's still a lot of business being done out of Vietnam, and a lot of those producers were at this show. Why do you think there were fewer Americans?
To be honest, I would not exactly know, other than the relationship currently between the two countries maybe and some of the visions. But you're absolutely right, Kemp. There were not only Chinese manufacturers, there was everyone who was producing in Asia were one way or another represented. So there could be a lot of contacts to be made in a short period of time. So I think it's a missed opportunity. I think also at the same time we saw new developments that had already started in terms of the composition. So more products with PU, PP, PET. We saw several manufacturers coming with a so-called mineral composite, so minerals with a wood fiber. You tell me you knew what the minerals were in the composite, but you saw many different new compositions coming up. So it was quite interesting in terms of new developments as well. And the question, of course, is also, for the future, what is then the right place to have an Asian show? Because you cannot have, in my opinion at least, a show in each of the individual markets. So that's a question more for, companies like Deutsche Messe or somebody else to answer than for me. We are, of course, following where the market goes, where people go. We're always there where, manufacturers or people with interest in flooring are. You mentioned a couple of names, but there were even, European manufacturers with a booth there. It was a quite interesting setup of different companies, and you clearly see that it is an orientation towards the future, what is best to do.
Okay. Tell us about what you were talking about with I4F.
We have the technologies we also presented in Hanover and in Las Vegas, but we had a specific new technology. We call it Herringbone. If you look at the letters, you also see Herringbone, and that was because we had a long discussion internally. It's an A-panel herringbone, so panel, which is currently not in the market, at least not in this shape of easy production. Which became a big success. We had a huge demonstration table where everybody could use all our different lockings and different materials, one of which was, of course, this new herringbone solution, which we call Herringbone. So that was an absolute success. We also showed the ceramic click. Kemp, we have introduced a clickable ceramic panel. So it is a ceramic tile with a carrier at coverings in the US. And we showed that to a broader market to get interest and to learn also from what everybody says. So these were the two different from the ones we presented also in the previous shows, like grouts. There's a lot of interest of our grout technology and material saving and whatnot. So, but these were the two where we gave most attention to.
That Herringbone eliminates the A and B panels, right? It makes just an easier system for putting in herringbone, right?
Yeah, it was kind of, they call it the holy grail because people like to have that for all kind of reasons. If you need to manufacture it, you need to have, two different profiles, and you need to recognize the panels. Some of the manufacturers did it with a different color of backing layer. There's a lot of material waste, as we all understand, if you have two different panels and you come at the wall. So the cutting and the, having the right amount, and this is really a big win. We really estimate this could become potentially the standard for installing herringbone.
All right, so this is the last show for you for a few days, right? For a little while.
For a few, indeed, I would almost say for a few days because we live from show to show. There are several shows. NeonCon, of course, is coming. One of my team, Matthew Deakins, is going there. But for me, this has been the last big show for this year. And between us, I'm also happy with that because it's quite a commitment in time in terms of preparation and being there. And but it has been fun to meet a lot of customers in a short period of time, which you're normally not able to do.
All right, John, it was good to talk to you. Thanks for an update on the Domotex Asia show. Again, been talking to John Rietveldt, the CEO with I4F, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.